Who would have thought? Who would have thought that in 2001 we started this journey with Superman when the CW back then WB created Smallville, and for all the seasons that Smallville ran and all the characters that it introduced, there was always this: will they create spin-offs for these characters? None of that ever came to fruition, by the way, and everything was silent for a while. Then the CW dropped Arrow. And the first two seasons of Arrow, no matter how you felt about Arrow towards the end, the first two seasons of Arrow are goated. They are fantastic superhero television. And from there, the Arrowverse was essentially born. We got the spin-offs for The Flash, we got Black Lightning, we got Legends of Tomorrow, all of these other shows. Some of them lived and died within the one season that they were created, like Naomi. Some of them we wish that we got more seasons from, like Stargirl. Superman and Lois, when it was created, was supposed to be tied to the greater Arrowverse. But with a lot of the Arrowverse essentially shutting down, Arrow shut down, Legends of Tomorrow shut down, The Flash was basically wrapping up its last season. There wasn't any space to link these characters together. There wasn't any space to link it to, let's say, Supergirl. That didn't happen. Instead, they spun off the story of Superman to his own Earth with his own cast of villains. And at first, for people who were diehard fans of the Arrowverse, it was kind of annoying discovering that this Superman wasn't going to interact with any of the heroes that we were familiar with. But the writing for this show was always consistent and fantastic. It could hype you up and in the next second tug at your heartstrings easily. And of course, there were a little bit of complications due to the fact that we lost the original person who played John Kent. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm extremely sorry. He was really good. He left for means that I never really looked into. And we got our new John Kent, and he's done a fantastic job on the show in general. But there was a feeling of dread coming into this season, knowing that they had basically lost half their budget, that half of the staff had basically been regulated to simply guests so that they didn't have to pay them as much as series regulars. The fact that we were going to be getting less episodes and it was going to be wrapping up the story that they had essentially set up for the last three seasons with this final one. There was a sense of dread that we would not stick the landing, that in some way, shape, or form, as usual, WB would find some way to let us down. After everything, after watching this entire season, after watching this finale, I can say this is the best finale any of the superhero shows in the Arrowverse has ever received. Not Superman is a character that falls into this weird space where by the end of his run, he's always alone. Like Lois has always passed away, his kids have always passed away, and he's just the lonely god at the end of the universe. And I was afraid we were going to be getting something along those lines, where it was just going to be him flying off into the sky in a really, really ambiguous way, off to go essentially do more adventures. No, they give him a definitive end. They basically say, hey, he kept on being Superman for as long as he could until he didn't have his abilities to the extent that he had them before. Hey, he was able to watch his kids grow up and he was able to get grandkids. And him and Lois were able to play with their grandchildren and spoil them and have their fun. Eventually, she passes away. He's all alone. He's sad. He goes and he gets Crypto, the super dog. And Crypto is essentially with him, like for the remainder of his days. He doesn't go off dying fighting Doomsday. He doesn't get killed by a plot from Lex Luthor. He doesn't get his neck snapped by Mongol. No, he's simply in Smallville, walking around with his friends, and he has a heart attack in the almost the exact same location his dad had a heart attack when he was younger. And he's able to basically be surrounded by his family and his friends and his loved ones before he dies. And then what does he see upon his death? He sees all of the villains that are waiting for him to basically, let's say, seek redemption. I love the fact that Lex is there. I know a lot of people are like, well, why is Lex Luthor waiting for Clark to essentially die? Because he died in prison. And him being there seeking atonement, because I'm telling you right now, when Bruno Mannheim walked out of that jail cell and he was like, nah, dog, the old status quo was over. Like, welcome to you now being the chair. I was like, Lex is about to go through it, and this is going to cause him to, in some way, shape, or form, become a better man. So seeing him sitting at the table, remorseful, and then Clark stops and sits at the table, you don't hear the conversation that happens between them, and he puts his hand on his shoulder, basically saying like, yeah, I forgive you for everything that you've done, and Lex's spirit is finally able to rest. Love it. Him seeing the younger versions of his kids being the ones to basically, point towards the door, and then the door open and Lois is basically waiting there for him, and she's always been waiting there for him. Love it. Superman being able to close the chapter on his life, being surrounded by the people who love him most, being able to watch his kids essentially grow, being able to forgive his villains for being evil and being villains, and giving them like the closure they needed in the afterlife. Mwah! Perfect. Like, I am so happy to live in my lifetime where I have gotten just great Superman portrayals. Has all their stories ever been really done justice? No. Tom Welling was a fantastic Clark Kent, but they didn't really know how to utilize him in the Superman role. Henry Cavill was a fantastic Superman, but they kind of botched the Clark Kent side, and then they also kind of botched the what it means to be Superman side of his character. Dean Cain, I was a child. I barely remember Superman and Lois on TV watching that. So I really didn't have any feelings in regards to Dean Cain growing up as Superman. I just knew that he was a Superman on a TV show when I was like 4. The DCAU Superman, going from Superman Adventures into Justice League Unlimited, once again, for fantastic portrayal of Superman. All of the movies that he's essentially been in, All Star Superman, Superman Red Sun, all fantastic portrayals. I am happy to have lived in my little era of 34 years where there's just been fantastic Superman upon fantastic Superman building the mythos. And I do believe that this Superman here is the complete package. The fantastic version of Clark Kent that he was going around Smallville as like the Kansas sun that he should be, this beacon of positivity who may sometimes stumble but is always the one that's going to reach down and pick you up and push you down on a better path. Also the best version of Superman, just a ray of optimism and sunshine that shows up to basically help every single person in need, no matter where they are in the world. Love it. Love the fact that he's able to go off into the sunset and have that great life that I've always wanted the Superman character to essentially have. Now, in regards to the rest of this episode, it was fantastic. Did it wrap things up a little bit too fast? Yes, but I feel as though Doomsday went out the way that I expected him to go out. I know a lot of people thought that, oh, he was gonna kill Doomsday. No, like the problem with fighting Doomsday is that eventually it becomes redundant because every single time you kill him, he's just gonna come back. The idea that Doomsday realized, or should I say, the the transformation into that last form where he was all rage was induced by Lex. Him having his neck broken, and you also see like there was damage to his brain. That gave him like the moment of lucidity where there wasn't any rage, and I like that moment between him and Clark where like Clark's ready to square up with him and throw that punch, and Doomsday's like, nah, it's me. Like, no rage, no anger. I've just been causing way too much damage and I should have died a long time ago and it's time for me to die. So him just falling into the sun, and I like the fact that they kind of gave him like, like the Superman Jesus post thing. They kind of does something along those lines. He just falls to the sun, he accepts his death and he thinks about his family and his version of Lois, his kids, his world in general, how he failed them, how he tried to do a little bit better, how he failed, and just accepting his demise. Beautifully done. The final fight between Superman and Lex, also beautifully done. I know a lot of people thought that Lex, for some whatever reason, was going to be able to just dominate Superman because of the super suit. No, we see Superman beat that super suit like 3 times. Him one-shotting the super suit and catching Lex before he hits the ground. I'm sorry. I already know that I would have been a villain because I'd have let Lex Luthor's ass hit that ground. You put me through too much trauma for me to just allow you to essentially just live. But him catching Lex and delivering Lex straight to jail, absolutely fucking loved it. Was it fast? Yes, but it wrapped up the story that they've been telling this entire season really, really neatly. Would I want more? Of course. I'd always want more from this show. But I'm super happy with the way in which this show essentially ended. Now, in regards to the cameos, I know a lot of people were thinking that we were going to get Kara as Supergirl. I wish that was the case. I know that Melissa probably wouldn't have wanted to come back. I don't even know if they fucking called her, to be quite honest. I kind of wish that they did. I feel the best way we could have went around this would be to have her pod essentially crash and for them to find the pod, and it's the younger version of her. And when we do a little fast forward with the whole family and stuff, we see on the stand that there are pictures of a fully grown Supergirl. That would have been really, really cool, just seeing Melissa's photo amongst all the other photos. That would have been like a really nice nod. It also been a really, really nice nod to probably have seen Oliver Queen Spectre being the one to basically usher Superman through the door. Like, he doesn't even have to say anything. He just needs to stand there. They'll be like, hey, Stephen Amell, we need you to come back for this one scene. Just stand right there, flick your hand, open up the door. Here's 20 grand. Go about your day, young man. But no, I love this. I love this series. I love the ending. It consistently gave us great Superman stories and then ended a really, really great Superman story. But let me know what you guys think about it. Comment down below, and I will catch you in the next one.